Welcome to our comprehensive exploration of administrative law, a cornerstone of modern governance. Administrative law has evolved as societies have grown more complex, requiring new rules to manage the intricate relationships between government authorities and citizens. This video will uncover how administrative law emerged as a response to the expanding socioeconomic functions of the state, and why it's now considered one of the most significant legal developments of the 20th century. We'll also see how the balance between state power and individual rights is maintained, setting the stage for our journey through its meaning, scope, and importance. Truly understand administrative law, it's essential to look back at its roots. In ancient societies, the state's functions were limited, mainly defense, tax collection, and maintaining order. However, as societies advanced, the need for more complex administrative systems grew. In India, administrative law can be traced to the Mauryas and Guptas, and later the Mughals and the British East India Company. Each era contributed to the evolution of administrative mechanisms, laying the groundwork for the modern administrative state we know today. 19th century was dominated by the philosophy of laissez-faire, minimal government intervention, and maximum individual freedom. But this approach led to significant social inequalities, with the weak often exploited by the strong. Over time, it became clear that the state needed to play a more active role in ensuring social justice and welfare. This shift in philosophy marked the transition from a law and order state to a social welfare state, where government intervention became necessary to protect the rights and well-being of all citizens. With India's independence in 1947, the philosophy of governance underwent a dramatic transformation. The Indian constitution, drafted in the mid-20th century, embraced the ideals of a social welfare state. The directive principles of state policy set out economic, social, and political goals, placing the government under an obligation to maximize social welfare. Administrative law became a vital tool for balancing state power with individual rights, ensuring that government actions are fair, just, and in line with constitutional values. Administrative law is the branch of law that deals with the organization, powers, duties, and liabilities of government organs engaged in public administration. It sets out the rules and procedures that regulate and control the administrative machinery. Definitions by jurists like Sir Ivor Jennings, Dr. F.J. Port, and Bernard Schwartz highlight its role in governing the actions of administrative authorities, ensuring that their powers are exercised within legal boundaries and subject to judicial control. Rise of the social welfare state has profoundly impacted democracies, leading to increased state activism. Today, the state acts as protector, provider, entrepreneur, economic controller, and arbiter. Administrative law is crucial for regulating these expanded functions, ensuring that government actions are consistent with the rule of law, democratic values, and natural justice. It provides mechanisms for controlling administrative power and protecting individual rights. One of the central challenges of administrative law is balancing the need for efficient administration with the protection of individual rights. As administrative powers expand, so does the potential for misuse. Administrative law seeks to ensure that government actions are guided by legal principles, fairness, and reason, preventing arbitrary or unjust decisions. This balance is essential for maintaining public trust in government institutions. Administrative law encompasses a wide range of powers exercised by administrative authorities. These powers can be legislative, judicial, or purely executive in nature. The law regulates how these powers are composed, exercised, and controlled. Because administrative processes have grown so complex, there is no single precise definition of administrative law that covers all its aspects. Instead, it is best understood as a body of rules that govern the functioning of public administration. Several jurists have contributed to our understanding of administrative law. Austin defined it as the law determining the ends and modes of exercising sovereign power. Holland saw it as one of the 6 divisions of public law. Bernard Schwartz emphasized its application to agencies with delegated legislative and adjudicatory authority. Jennings focused on the organization, powers, and duties of administrative authorities. Dicey, meanwhile, highlighted the legal status and liabilities of state officials, though his definition has been critiqued for its limitations. Scope of administrative law is broad, covering the existence of various administrative bodies, their rulemaking powers, judicial functions, and available remedies. It includes procedural guarantees like natural justice, government liability for wrongs, and the responsibilities of public corporations. Administrative law also addresses safeguards against abuse of power and mechanisms for judicial control, ensuring that administrative actions remain within legal bounds. India administrative law has a long history, with systems of administrative legislation and adjudication existing since ancient times. During British rule, the executive held significant power, but courts could intervene when necessary. The complexity of modern society and the expansion of government functions have led to concentration of power in the executive branch, making administrative law more important than ever for maintaining checks and balances. Administrative law in India draws from several sources: the Constitution, acts and statutes, ordinances, administrative directions, notifications, circulars, and judicial decisions. Each of these sources plays a role in shaping the rules and procedures that govern administrative actions, ensuring that they are consistent with constitutional principles and subject to judicial oversight. Administrative law is not inconsistent with the rule of law. In fact, both aim to achieve orderly government and prevent the misuse of power. Administrative law provides checks and controls on the discretionary powers of authorities, ensuring that government actions are lawful, reasonable, and just. This parallel relationship strengthens the legal framework that protects individual rights and upholds justice. Administrative law addresses several critical questions. Who are the administrative authorities? What powers do they exercise and what limitations exist? How is the administration kept within its legal boundaries? What procedures must be followed and what remedies are available to those adversely affected by administrative actions? These questions guide the development and application of administrative law, ensuring accountability and fairness. Recent years have seen remarkable advances in administrative law, with courts playing an active role in controlling the exercise of power. Judicial activism has led to the development of new legal norms and a greater emphasis on good governance. Courts have enforced principles that prevent arbitrariness and ensure that government actions are guided by fairness, justice, and the rule of law. The concept of the rule of law is rooted in the idea that government should be based on principles of law, not the whims of individuals. Originating with Edward Coke and later developed by A.V. Dicey, the rule of law emphasizes the supremacy of law over executive power. It protects citizens from arbitrary actions by ensuring that all government actions are subject to legal scrutiny. A.V. Dicey attributed three key meanings to the rule of law. First, no one can be punished except for a breach of law established by ordinary courts. Second, everyone is subject to the law regardless of rank or status. Third, constitutional principles are the result of judicial decisions in individual cases. While influential, Dicey's views have been critiqued for not fully accounting for modern administrative realities. Modern scholars have criticized Dicey's interpretation, noting that discretionary powers are now a necessary part of government. While Dicey opposed discretionary powers as a source of arbitrariness, today such powers are guided by legal principles and subject to judicial review. The focus has shifted from denying discretion to ensuring it is exercised fairly and within the law. In practice, the rule of law means that administrative authorities must act according to law, not arbitrarily. It ensures that laws are not oppressive or unconstitutional and that the supremacy of courts is maintained. Judicial control over administrative action is a key feature, providing remedies for those whose rights are infringed. Rule of law is built on several basic principles. Law is supreme, all actions must be lawful, no one suffers without legal cause, arbitrary power is absent, equality before the law is maintained, discretion is limited by law, safeguards exist against abuse, the judiciary is independent, and procedures are fair and just. These principles form the foundation of a just and orderly society. In India, the Constitution is the supreme law. The preamble and various provisions enshrine the principle of rule of law, emphasizing fair play, accountability, and natural justice. Even as the government pursues planning and welfare schemes, the rule of law ensures that individual freedoms are respected and administrative actions are subject to legal scrutiny. Landmark cases like Kesavananda Bharati v. State of Kerala and Indira Gandhi v. Rajnarine have affirmed the rule of law as a basic feature of the Indian Constitution. The judiciary has consistently emphasized the need to exclude arbitrary official action and ensure that all government actions are guided by the spirit of law. Modern concept of the rule of law, as formulated by the International Commission of Jurists in the Delhi Declaration of 1959, aligns with the needs of a welfare society. It emphasizes not just formal legality, but also the protection of human rights, access to justice, and the accountability of government. This broader understanding reflects the evolving role of law in society. Recent judgments by India's highest courts highlight a new approach to the rule of law, focusing on fair play, justice, and access to remedies for all, including the socially and economically disadvantaged. The rule of law remains a dynamic and evolving concept, central to the functioning of a just society. Doctrine of separation of powers is an ancient concept, systematically formulated by Montesquieu. It holds that the legislative, executive, and judicial functions of government should be carried out by separate organs to prevent the concentration of power and protect individual liberty. This doctrine has influenced the structure of governments worldwide, including France, the USA, and England. Separation of powers has been applied differently across countries. In France, it led to the creation of separate administrative courts. In the USA, the Constitution clearly separates executive, legislative, and judicial powers with checks and balances. In England, the system is less rigid, with the cabinet acting as a bridge between the legislature and executive, while the judiciary remains independent. In India, the doctrine of separation of powers is not explicitly stated in the Constitution, but its principles are reflected in the structure of government. The executive, legislature, and judiciary have distinct functions, though some overlap exists. Article 50 directs the state to separate the judiciary from the executive, reinforcing the importance of independent judicial review. Supreme Court of India, in the landmark Kesavananda Bharati case, recognized both the supremacy of the Constitution and the separation of powers as part of the basic structure of the Constitution. This ensures that no single organ can assume the essential functions of another, maintaining a balance of power and safeguarding democracy. Core principles of separation of powers are: each organ should be independent, no organ should perform functions assigned to another, and there should be checks and balances to prevent abuse. In practice, some overlap is inevitable, but institutional safeguards ensure that power is not concentrated in any one branch. In India, the executive is part of the legislature, with the president acting on the advice of the Council of Ministers. The legislature performs some judicial functions, such as punishing for contempt. The judiciary, however, enjoys significant independence, with safeguards for the appointment and removal of judges. This interdependence reflects the practical realities of governance while upholding constitutional principle. Appointment and removal of judges in India are governed by constitutional provisions, ensuring their independence. Judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts are appointed by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice of India and other relevant authorities. Their tenure and privileges are protected, making the judiciary a robust guardian of the Constitution. Several landmark cases have shaped the doctrine of separation of powers in India, including the Delhi Laws Act case, Rama Javia v. State of Punjab, Ramkrishna Dalmia v. Justice Tendulkar, and Indira Gandhi v. Raj Narain Singh. These cases have clarified the boundaries and interactions between the different branches of government. Droit administratif, or French administrative law, is a body of rules developed by administrative courts, not the legislature. Established by Napoleon, it includes principles like the administration's power to act independently, the protection of individual liberties, and the existence of specialized administrative courts. The Conseil d'État is the highest administrative court, reviewing a wide range of government action. Key features of droit administratif include the jurisdiction of administrative courts over state matters, the application of rules developed by these courts, and mechanisms for resolving jurisdictional conflicts. The system is praised for its flexibility, simplicity of remedies, and specialized procedures, though it has also faced criticism for slow judicial reviews. Dicey criticized droit administratif for granting special rights and privileges to government officials and for separating administrative and ordinary courts. He argued that this system was opposed to the rule of law. However, later analysis showed that administrative law exists in both France and England, though with different structures and controls. Administrative action is a broad term that includes rule-making, quasi-legislative, rule decision, quasi-judicial, rule application, administrative, and ministerial actions. These categories help in understanding the different functions and powers exercised by administrative authorities and the legal standards that apply to each. Rulemaking action, or quasi-legislative action, occurs when administrative authorities are delegated the power to make rules by the legislature. This is known as delegated legislation. Such rules have the force of law and are essential for efficient governance in complex societies. However, safeguards are necessary to prevent abuse of this power. Quasi-judicial action involves administrative agencies making decisions that affect individual rights, often requiring procedures similar to those in courts. Examples include disciplinary proceedings, license cancellations, and statutory disputes. These actions must adhere to principles of natural justice, ensuring fairness and impartiality. Administrative actions are those taken on the subjective satisfaction of authorities, often based on policy and expediency. Ministerial actions, on the other hand, are duties imposed by law with no discretion, such as revenue collection. Both types of actions must still adhere to basic principles of fairness and legality. Distinction between administrative and quasi-judicial actions lies in the degree of discretion and the requirement for objective decision-making. Quasi-judicial actions are based on objective standards and require consideration of evidence and arguments, while administrative actions are more subjective and policy-driven. Understanding these differences is key to applying the correct legal standards. Administrative actions can be statutory, having the force of law, or non-statutory, lacking such force but still binding within the administrative hierarchy. Statutory actions are subject to legal standards and judicial review, while non-statutory actions are governed by internal rules and procedures. Effective control mechanisms are essential to prevent the abuse of administrative power. These include judicial review, procedural safeguards, and remedies like writs, injunctions, and declarations. Such controls ensure that administrative authorities act within the law and respect individual rights. When administrative actions exceed legal boundaries or infringe on rights, individuals have access to remedies such as writs of mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, injunctions, and declarations. These legal tools empower citizens to challenge unlawful actions and seek redress, reinforcing the rule of law. Administrative law is a dynamic and evolving field, adapting to the changing needs of society and government. As new challenges arise, administrative law continues to develop new principles, procedures, and safeguards to ensure that government remains accountable, just, and responsive to the people it serves. Summary: administrative law plays a vital role in modern governance, balancing the powers of the state with the rights of individuals. It draws from a rich history, incorporates principles like the rule of law and separation of powers, and provides mechanisms for accountability and justice. As society continues to evolve, so too will administrative law, ensuring that government remains a force for good in people's lives.